I'm going to talk about some movies. Hi, how are you? Today I want to talk about Unstoppable and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and American Graffiti. If you have not seen any of these movies, I highly recommend them. They are awesome. And I'd like to talk about them and why I like them. I hope you're having a really great day and a fantastic week. And this is fun. So, well, you'll decide whether this is fun. I think it's fun. Let's find out. All right, Unstoppable. When I did a video several months ago with my favorite 25 movies of the past 25 years, this is one of the movies I mentioned, Unstoppable. I was listening to the podcast The Rewatchables, which is my favorite movie podcast, and they were talking about Unstoppable because Quentin Tarantino came and co-hosted the show that day, and he wanted to talk about the movie Unstoppable. And one really interesting thing that Quentin said is that Quentin sees himself as a director, and Tony Scott, who directed this movie, Quentin classified him as a selector, meaning Quentin uses one camera usually and shoots and frames and organizes everything, plans out every shot, what it's going to look like beforehand. Whereas Tony Scott will use like 20 different cameras on this movie and will film a scene from multiple different angles and then will select which was the best angle in the editing room. So there's directors and there's selectors. I mean, they're all directors, but this is an interesting way to film a movie with, I mean, not 20 cameras, probably like 4 to 10 cameras per shot for Unstoppable, because he's doing it from multiple angles. So Unstoppable, if you haven't seen it, is about a runaway train, and it's based on a real story. I think it happened in Ohio in 2001. I could be wrong, but a train got away and it was unmanned. There was nobody on the train. The train accidentally took off and went down the tracks and was going at a high speed, and some people had to jump onto the train and stop it, but it took a while to do that, and which makes, great premise for a movie, like Speed, right? You gotta get on the bus, and I love Keanu, and you gotta get on the bus and stop the bus, and so Die Hard in a building, Die Hard on a bus, and now Die Hard on a train. And Tony Scott, who directed this, also directed Days of Thunder, and he directed Top Gun and a whole bunch of other really great movies. And he's really a wonderful director. Enemy of the State, I believe he directed. The thing about it's like nonstop action. He really knows how to keep the pace of a movie going, which is amazing. So, the movie starts, you get some exposition, you get to know the characters, and then the train takes off. And one of the reasons I like this movie, as a truck goes by, sorry. One of the reasons I like this movie is because I am a person who likes to warn people about things. Oh, maybe we shouldn't do it like that because this might happen. And it's like, and people tell me, it'll be fine. You just worry about things. You worry too much. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And it drives me crazy when people say, no, it'll be fine. It's like, no, we have to plan out everything precisely as if it was a heist, because anything could possibly, we have to plan for and expect any possible scenario that could go wrong. And it drives me crazy when people just like, we'll just wing it. When I do these videos, I have a basic understanding of what I'm going to do, but I've thought it out, and then I can live in the moment and wing it. But I've planned it all out first. What's great about this movie is that I feel very justified because the character who accidentally gets the train started, I think his name's Dewey, and oh man, he plays that character so great. It's exactly as it should be. It's like, oh, it's fine, don't worry. He's driving the train. He's got to switch the tracks before the train gets there. So he jumps off the train, runs over to the tracks, switches the tracks, and then he's going to jump back on the train. But he trips and falls, and he can't get on the train, and the train speeds up, and he scrambles. He's like, I can't get back on the train. Because this person thought, oh, it'll be fine, no problem, and then problem. And I feel so justified for being, you know, a worrier. Because stuff does go wrong if you don't plan stuff out and you just wing it. And so that's one of the things, like, so this is what happens when you don't plan things out and everything is not fine and you got to do things really precisely. And so that's one of the reasons I like this. I also love the repertoire and the chemistry between Denzel Washington and Chris Pine and Rosario Dawson, who's running the command center. It's just a really great non-stop thrill movie that's like just total fun. You put it on and, you know, you watch a train trying to be stopped, and it's really wonderful. And I think this is one of the last movies that Tony Scott made before he passed away, and brother of Ridley Scott, I believe. And he did some amazing work, and this is one of them. Next movie, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. I have probably talked about this movie before, but I can't talk about it enough. When you talk about chemistry between the two lead characters, Butch Cassidy, Paul Newman and Redford. Paul Newman was a big star when this happened, and Robert Redford was a star on Broadway and had only done a few movies. And it was originally going to be Steve McQueen and Paul Newman, I believe. And I don't remember why it didn't happen, but Paul Newman, you know, Redford auditioned or whatever, and Paul Newman saw him and is like, that's the guy. And so this is Robert Redford's big breakout movie, and they're so great. I mean, I can't imagine anybody else in these roles. I mean, this is also based on a true story, sort of. It's about these two outlaws in the Old West, and the times are changing, and banks are getting more sophisticated, so they can't rob banks as easily as they did before. So they start robbing trains and all kinds of stuff, and they end up getting chased. And it's one of William Goldman, one of his best screenplays. William Goldman, who wrote Adventures of the Screen Trade, one of the most famous screenwriters in Hollywood. He's famous for saying nobody knows anything. Nobody knows when you publish a movie or a song or anything how it's going to respond to the audience, which is how I feel when I post this YouTube video. When I post Instagram videos, I never know how an audience is going to react to something. You have sort of a vague idea, you hope, but you never really know. And there's so many factors, you know, maybe it just, you know, sparks didn't fly, or maybe, you know, it wasn't the good pace, or you know, who knows the reasons. But this is one of the movies that absolutely took off and was a big success, and I just absolutely love this movie. And if you haven't seen it, I really recommend. They also did The Sting, Paul Newman and Robert Redford, and I think they looked for a third movie, but they were never able to put it together. You know, it would have been interesting seeing Paul Newman and Robert Redford do All the President's Men, but Dustin Hoffman did a great job too. So yeah, I don't know what to say this about. I mean, a couple of things. There's hardly any music during this. There's one song, Raindrops Are Falling on My Head, which has nothing to do with what's happening in the movie at the time. He's riding a bicycle. But the absence of music when these guys are getting chased is a big thing. And you don't need it. And it almost seems more suspenseful and realistic. And the shots of the desert, the Southwest American desert, is just beautiful. And the camaraderie and the banter, the witty banter, is something that really inspired me when I wrote my novels. Witty banter of West Wing and Gilmore Girls, and certainly Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. This is one of my favorite all-time classic movies, and I hope you watch it if you haven't watched it. It's a total treat. I'm not letting you down. This is a great movie. And the third movie I wanted to talk about today was American Graffiti. This is George Lucas's second movie, I believe. He made THX. I don't know what movies he made in film school, but he made THX 1138, which is a very sci-fi movie, very serious. And then George was working on Star Wars, and I believe Francis Ford Coppola says, before you make Star Wars, you need to make a comedy and show that you can do comedy, that you have versatility, And it will show the studios that you can make a hit with comedy. You have versatility. And so he made a comedy, which it's a comedy, but it's not a comedy. It's got some funny moments, but it's basically almost the same plot as my novel Passion or Pancakes. Is a bunch of people. These are teenagers. My characters were in their 20s. They're just hanging out on a Saturday night, and it all takes place in one night. And so this was a big inspiration for me. It's different. What I wrote is different. But it's got Ron Howard, Richard Dreyfuss, Harrison Ford, Cindy Williams, who went on to Laverne and Shirley, Mackenzie Phillips, and Suzanne Summers, who went on to Three's Company. I mean, and this is before these stars hit the big time. And the success of this led to people at the Hollywood inspired to write Happy Days and use Ron Howard for that. And then George decided to, use Harrison Ford for Star Wars because Harrison Ford just happened to be, a carpenter on the audition sets for Star Wars that one day, and sat in. But what's interesting is you got multiple characters. It's like another one of my inspirations for my novel was St. Elmo's Fire. I like an ensemble of characters, each doing different things. So you're with these folks for a little bit, and then you go over here and see what these guys are doing, and then you go over here, and then you see these characters, and then they all come together at the end, or they interweave, and it's really fun seeing an ensemble of characters interact with each other on the screen, and then have it all come together at the end. And one of the other things about this that I tried to do with my novel Passion or Pancakes also is it's a time capsule. This is about people hot rodding in the streets of, I believe, Modesto, California. People don't do that anymore. At least they don't do it now like they did back then. This was in the 60s, and I think this was made in the 70s and about the late 60s. So it was about George Lucas's childhood or teenage years, remembering what it was like. And I kind of like that. You're showing people a slice of history that was, and it's gone now. And, in my novel, Passion or Pancakes, I was trying to show, what San Francisco Marina was like in 2013. And it's very similar now, but things have changed. And I wanted to have it as be a time capsule, and this is sort of a time capsule of a time gone by of hot rodding in the streets of a town. And anyway, this is all three of these movies. I would not steer you wrong. These are all great. So if you haven't seen any of these movies, I highly recommend it. And is the director commentary on here? I think so. I think there's director commentary on all of these. Audio commentary by George Lucas and commentary. I love director commentary. The person who never does director commentary is Steven Spielberg. The one director I really want to do director commentaries on his movies on DVD, and he never does them. Probably thinks the movie should speak for itself. Shouldn't have to explain it. But I love all the behind the scenes stuff. I loved cast commentaries. Bridesmaids is a great cast commentary. And director commentary. Any movie by Oliver Stone where he just rambles on about all kinds of information. And lunacy, and it's fun to listen to him. And then Sideways with the two main actors is hilarious, and Star Trek Generations, the movie where the two screenwriters was just ripping on each other and poking holes in their own screenplay and how they would have done it different now. Anyway, those are some of my recommendations for DVD commentaries. Anyway, those are the three movies I wanted to talk about. And William Goldman's Adventures of a Screen Trade is also a great book if you want to know about Hollywood and how things worked and continue to work. And I think, in this digital age, I don't know, in streaming age, I don't know how things have changed, but there's some basic things in that book that are probably still true. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about this week, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble about these movies. I like talking about movies, and I'll probably talk about more, and you'll probably get sick of it, but that's okay. If you get anything out of this, I hope you liked it. Anyway, thanks for watching me, and I'll see you next week with some ridiculous video where I talk about something. All right, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I now have a Patreon. So if you want to spend more time with me on Instagram and YouTube, and now Patreon, I have new silly thoughts, bloopers, and R-rated silly thoughts that I can only say on Patreon, and some personal videos if you want to do tier 3. It's all mostly in widescreen, and it's lots of fun. And so anyway, I'm really excited about that. So thank you so much for hanging out with me on YouTube, and I really appreciate it. And wherever you see me, I'll see you. All right, have a great week.